Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Alison Matthey on the line, and she's owner and principal over at Dynamic 365. Alison, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam.
So I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at Dynamic 365. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. And I was really lucky when I was at a young age in high school, being able to follow my dream. And I always knew that I wanted to work with people. So I loved my psychology class, and that's what I majored in college. And when I got out into the work world, I thought being a teacher was the way I could use that. And I tried to get my master's in being a guidance counselor at schools, but the corporate world kind of came knocking on my door, and I realized that in corporate America, I was able to have more influence. So as I started my business, or actually, in the corporate world, I was working for a very large company, telecommunications company called MCI. No longer there today. They're known as Verizon these days. But at the time, they had a lot of money, and I was able to get into the human resources training and development department. And I loved it. I was one of those people that loved to come into work, love their jobs. And they certified me in several programs. And I was really lucky in that I learned so much from those early days there. Eventually, they gave me a whole territory in the U.S. to be the human resources development person for all the business units, for engineering, for customer service, for sales. And that's where I was able to grow and learn organizational development and, really get, that information that I really needed to start my business. Unfortunately, now that they are no longer a company, we had a big acquisition in 1998, and it was at the time where I had my second child, and the layoffs took place. Of course, everyone ended up pretty much laid off, but people in training development usually the ones to go first because that doesn't affect the bottom line as much. But I used that opportunity to take some time to raise my kids, but also many of the people that I worked with at MCI called me back into the new organizations that they worked for, and that's how my company got started.
That's awesome. And I love this story because we all have these ups, these downs, these pivots in our careers and in business where we don't necessarily know what's going to be on the other side. That being said, you did manage to make the change and also to start your own business, which we're going to get into more, Dynamic 365. But before we do that, there's some younger entrepreneurs or would-be, like they're just graduating college or they're just kind of getting out into that workforce. What kind of advice would you give them on some of those pivots that they're inevitably going to have ahead of them?
Yeah, so learn and keep an open mind and look at your leaders and really emulate those things that you like and learn from those things that you don't like. Be a sponge, be, a willing participant to do any job because you just never know. And if something, if they like to start their own businesses, all of those elements will come into play when you do that because you have to be the marketing person, the expert in the field, and the leader. So just keep that open mind and do whatever job that comes in front of you.
That's awesome. Let's switch it up, Alison. I want to get into what you're doing over at Dynamic 365. So first, tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, so about in 2008 is when I officially started after I had gone back and done some consulting with different companies. And at that time, 2008, as you probably remember, was a really hard time to start it back into business. So good news is that I was able to get a big client through a partner relationship where I did some subcontract work where their industry was thriving in the down economy. And I was able to do work with them for about 9 years where I saw a culture shift, a transformation in leadership. And that's what we were there to do. It was just amazing for me to see. And so as I did that large project, I also had many small other clients that brought me in to do mostly facilitation work, some coaching work. And as that, my book of business grew and grew from there. And then I really took a look at those big organizational changes, those places that I worked, and thought, that's what I really want to do. There's so many training companies out there that do event-based training where, people come in and you maybe see them for 2 or 3 days, and then they go out into their corporate culture, which is difficult because not everybody, got the same training, or the leadership in the group wasn't on board, and so it's difficult. So with my company, what I really like to do is partner with the leaders in the company and, mostly the executive team, and say, hey, what's your vision for your leaders? And really working with new leaders, creating that culture together. So developing and designing workshops that fit, and tailored to their needs. And then also not just, one class, but perhaps a 6-month engagement where there's bite-sized information, and then in between getting group coaching or one-on-one coaching in the midst of getting those new skills so that they can apply them and use them on the job.
And so, there's some people listening right now that are in that situation, right? So they have companies and they're thinking about what it looks like to for them to have that type of coaching. Are there any particular niches or types of clients that you like working with, just so that they know if they're the right fit to give you a call?
Yeah, I would say that there really isn't a certain type, because I've worked with Fortune 500 and small ones as well. But ones where they definitely haven't had the opportunity to have, training and development in their organization. A lot of times they're the smaller companies because they've started, they've grown, they've outgrown themselves, and then they decide, wow, we really, now that we have a lot of people that we're managing, we really see the need for more skills in leadership. And so they're my favorite clients because they're really hungry for the information and understand that, because of maybe some failures, see that there is a need for some new skills.
That's awesome. And so, Alison, what's the best route for someone to follow up if they do want more information?
So, yeah, you can go to my website. You can link in with me, Alison Matthey, in Orange County, LinkedIn, or my website is www.dynamic365.net, and you can contact me either way.
Awesome. Well, Alison, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at Dynamic 365. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Alison, thank you again for coming on the show.